All right. Though dismissed by fans and critics alike upon its release in 82, Carpenter's The Thing has since been widely recognized as a milestone of horror cinema. This Halloween, Rue Morgue celebrates the 25th anniversary of Carpenter's near perfect, what? Alien invasion movie. Near? So you can't say near perfect without backing up what you think
It's a
keeps
10 out
near
of
perfect.
10. I think it's damn near.
So this is where I want to spend some time. Yeah, man is still the warmest place to hide. By John Bowen, illustrations by Les Edwards. Yeah, who was Les Edwards trying to paint up there? Is that supposed to be Brimley? Go up. Who is that Afro man? Who is that?
It's
Is that
fucking
supposed to be
Afro-Man.
McCready? With he's got the beard?
No, really? No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think it's a pretty cool though, dude.
It looks cool. He's wearing those fucking Dr. those Janos Poha Ghostbusters suit glasses, dude.
Yeah.
Where they like have the lights.
The Adam
all
Bomb
right.
goggles.
Not with a bang, but a whimper. So goes T.S. Eliot's take on the end of the world. Not dissimilarly, John Carpenter's version ends with a few distant muffled cries in a snowstorm, while two men huddle among the ruins of the Antarctic research station and share a bottle of cheap scotch, calmly waiting to freeze to death. In Carpenter's 82 sci-fi horror masterpiece, The Thing, we have that rarest of rarities, a horror film that functions flawlessly or near flawlessly on multiple levels. It's a personal meditation on the beginning of the end, a symphony of spectacular gore effects and outrageous monster designs against a bleak, Spartan backdrop, and a parable about the most dangerous of human frailties, paranoia. Taken in terms of formal approaches to horror cinema, The Thing is at turns subtle, combination of style and textures, seldom deployed with successfully seldom deployed this successfully since The Exorcist, with the arguable exception of its elder sibling Alien. It's the single most effective marriage of horror and sci-fi ever filmed, supported by a superb cast and jaw-dropping sex scene. No, what does it go? Rob Bottin. Okay. Where did it continue? Did you skip a page?
You skipped a page. There you
Oh,
go.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I just want to. I'll just read this paragraph here. Animatronic and makeup effects of the pre-CGI era, courtesy of the then 21-year-old virtuoso Rob Bottin.
Oh, okay.
So he's even
Jesus
younger.
Wow.
Wow, dude, what were you guys doing at 21?
In the bar.
Legit. I was washing dishes.
No.
God dang.
I don't even know what the hell I was doing at 21.
No, I wasn't washing dishes at 21. I'm
I
selling
was
myself short.
drinking. I was drinking legally.
Crack.
That's about it.
I was washing dishes at 16, but I was probably cooking. Let's see. Taking its basic structure from the 51 Christian Nyby Howard Hawks classic, The Thing from Another World, and John W. Campbell's novella, Who Goes There? Carpenter's remake has the crew of the Antarctic Research Station, led by helicopter pilot R.J. McCready, Kurt Russell, terrorized by a very unfriendly super alien that could absorb and imitate any life form from unfortunate enough to cross its path. The aforementioned structure, however, is where the similarities end. The film was a product. The old film was a product of the post-World War II American militarism and Red Menace hysteria, while 30 years later, Carpenter would mine a much more personal strain of paranoia and cynicism, symptomatic of the Reagan era. Okay, so I'm looking forward to getting to these interviews, like Kurt Russell and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and
let's see where this starts.
Well, let's see. Roger Ebert praised Bottin's effects, and he ultimately wrote The Thing off as just a geek show, a gross out movie in which teenagers can dare one another to watch the screen. Dude, sometimes I didn't even like. Was he even watching movies? Like, was he like? What was he do? We didn't have cell phones there to be distracted. Like sometimes, like this guy got paid to critique movies and really crack them open. Why would he watch The Thing and think it's just a geek show, gross out movies? There's no teenagers. Oh, teenagers can dare one another to watch the screen. It's not even that. Like, it's just
he really has. Has some weird takes, I believe.
Yeah, I think with critics, sometimes they see so much and they watch so much that it sometimes shit just goes by and they don't really catch on because they're just trying to get to the next thing. So that's why I've always thought, like, when you see like a professional critic or something like that, it's like, how much can you really take into effect their perspective, because they're watching fucking everything, so it's just like in one ear out the other at all times.
And it's really their mindset going into it, like their mood of that day, you know, how they were feeling. If somebody called them an asshole before,
and it's just personal, and it's just taste, man. It's like certain critics are just not gonna like certain movies, no matter how good or bad they are. It's they're going in, like you said, with that mindset of just like, oh, this is just, whatever. I'm stuck. I gotta watch this fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
And still drinking at 49. I'm drinking now. Shit. Let's go ahead and move on a little bit. I think Kurt Russell's up next. He's page
Cheers,
20.
Satan.
Yes.
All right. Let's see here. Rob Bottin came up with the key to the whole movie. He said, it can look like anything. It looks like anything it's ever imitated, any place in the universe. So we can just go wild. John Carpenter.
I mean, look at that photo. That's an awesome photo.
How do you get that good at 21?
I don't know, man.
Like, what are you I want to know, like, I want his autobiography. Like, when did he start?
So
was he just like a total savant and he like got this good in a couple of years?
Okay.
He's found a real knack.
So, Alpha, Tom Savini or Rob Bottin?
Bottin.
I'd say I go with Savini. I think his range was, I mean, he invented a lot of stuff that, but I mean, he reached out to Bottin for advice when he was doing Day of the Dead. So it really just depends on taste. I for me personally, I love The Thing, but there's certain aspects of The Thing, like the effects in The Thing now, that when you see it in 4K, it's kind of like, it's kind of like, you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it. But I mean, one thing I do love about Rob Bottin that is maybe minuscule in his overall work, his squibs. He had the best squibs. Like, if you watch like Total Recall or RoboCop or something like that, when people get shot, they get fucking shot.
Oh yeah,
like famous Ed blowing him away in RoboCop is
man.
Nuts. The
Bottin squibs are
Total Recall. Oh my god.
Yeah, Bottin squibs are like
the human shield,
the best. So, and it's one of those. It's like, you're watching a Rob Bottin film, even if you don't know you're watching a Rob Bottin film. As soon as somebody gets shot, because his squibs look so
dramatic. They're so
they look so good. Yeah. But for me personally, I mean, as a Romero guy, I love Savini's enthusiasm and creativity. But yeah, I mean, The Thing, I mean, you can't argue. I mean, just the creativity of it alone is insane.
I figured I'd ask.
This has got to be our interview. But it said Kurt Russell would be page 20, so we'll just kind of like skim this interview here. Your version of The Thing, this is obviously Carpenter. Your version of The Thing is much closer to John Campbell's story, Who Goes There, than the Howard Hawks Christian Nyby film. What can you tell me about the work that you and screenwriter Bill Lancaster did with the story beforehand?
That's my uncle.
When we started, I'm going to talk like John Carpenter. It'll take us forever. We had the original film to look at. No, it was very much at its time, 1950-51. It was that whole feel of America after World War II, the military, the whole idea of the Soviet threat. I mean, there's one line in it about the Soviets being all over the place. That's the kind of context for it. We also had in those days in 47, the famous incident where Terrence Arnold sees these flying discs. And then you had supposedly the Roswell incident. Anyway, flying saucers had come into the national consciousness. That was in the 50s. And here we were in 1981. That's not going to work. I've always liked the original Who Goes There, always liked the structure of it. So I gave it to a number of very good writers who came up with a take on it. And Bill had a real interesting take, basically what you see on the screen now. What interested me the most about the screenplay was the blood test scene, which I thought would give me an opportunity to do something kind of fun. It's great tension, that blood test.
I love it.
It's one of the best scenes in horror. Yeah. Just the suspense, and you think you know who it is, it turns out it's not, and it's somebody that you're not even thinking of, so you're not prepared for it when it happens. It's so well done, so well paced.
It's the equivalent of when they would get that guy to go on Howard Stern with the lie detector test. And it's like, you don't know who they're going to strap to that lie detector test. You don't know what they're going to ask you, but it's probably going to be some fucking shit. And it's like, it's
Ed Torian.
Ed Torian. Have you ever thought about a man that way? Yeah, Ed Torian.
Have you ever thought about fucking Howard Stern?
Huh? I love Ed Torian, dude. He's great. Richard, please answer the question. It's like, but yeah, it's a really, really effective scene, man. Are you at liberty to drop any of the names of those screenwriters? let's not do that. They're all very well known. One screenwriter wanted to make it a positive alien movie. The fuck? Like Starman? We already did that.
Well, it came out the same year that E.T. came out, so that probably played.
But he literally did Starman.
Yeah.
Wait, what year was Starman? Starman was before this, right?
Starman was after.
After a year after? Like it wasn't.
Carpenter went on to do Starman after The Thing because The Thing was such a big flop at the box office.
Oh, that's
Carpenter
right.
was kind of trying to
do a family picture, director for hire.
84 was Starman.
84. Yeah. I like Starman. I think it's a fun movie.
Too.
And that opening sequence of him like turning into the fucking Jeff Bridges is kind of out of a monster movie, and it's a kind of a family movie. So that wouldn't have worked, would it? He's very, very renowned, and he said, the creature is all about symbiosis, which is a part. Let's see here. Which is a part of love. And as a person who's had trouble with symbiosis all his life, it kind of made my skin crawl. But we didn't go that way. You've spoken many times of the impact that Jack Arnold's It Came From Outer Space had on you as a child, how it made you conscious of movie magic. Given the subject matter of The Thing, do you think you maybe channeled that childhood experience into it, perhaps more than you had in your previous films? The Thing had less to do with old movies. It wasn't homage to It Came From Outer Space or the fact that there was a xenomorph in that movie. It was a vicious little horror monster movie. That's what I wanted to make. In contrast to the original version, there are no women in your film, which ostensibly eliminates issues of sexual tension. We don't know that. They should have got Ed Torian in there to had him take some lie detector tests. Have you thought about mounting a few of these guys? It's like,
have you ever thought sexually about Wilford Brimley?
I mean, did you want to take a mustache ride on Brimley? That mustache. Let's see.
You'll be deceptive.
Why did you? Okay. Why did you go that route? I've always wondered about believability. We kind of did some research on the stations in Antarctica. There were women working there, but I thought that it would be more interesting if the female presence was the creature, with all these men not willing to be taken over by it. But don't tell anybody that. It's a secret, LOL. Your previous horror films, Halloween and The Fog, weren't heavily dependent upon special effects or outrageous creature designs, and yet whenever I watch The Thing, I get the distinct impression that you were pretty comfortable stepping into that realm. I was very comfortable doing it. In The Thing, in the things I had done before, the most overt monsters were all kind of kept in shadows, and they were understated. And that's kind of a movie maker's cliche that you never show anything, never show the devil. And I think that's just bullshit. So I just decided, hey, let's put this baby out in the open. And then Rob Bottin came up with the key to the whole movie. He said, it can look like anything. It can look like anything it's ever imitated, any place in the universe. So we can just go wild. Interesting. It works. Usually I'm the opposite. Usually it's like, I want to see less. Usually so I think it's actually maybe a testament that he did show, not tell, and he did it well. I mean, it's just so easy for that to be a cop out.
Yeah, the majority of the time they don't do it well, but he nailed it.
One version of the script that I've read differs significantly from the film, especially during the second act. For instance, there's a protracted snowmobile chase across the ice a great distance from the station. Yeah, that's true. We did take that out because money, LOL. That was a difficult scene. Looking at that, it was, how are we going to do this? Not only were we going to do it, but does it really get across what we need here? One thing that fascinates me is the overwhelmingly negative press the film initially received, especially in contrast to the way it's revered today. Yeah, it's so funny. How shocked were you at the time? Oh, it was big time. Everybody was against it, and a lot of the fans at the time turned against it. The science fiction and horror fans. So I thought, well, serves me right for riding on that train. Man, you guys got him pitying himself.
God, why did the sci-fi fans back in the day not appreciate this? I just don't get it.
I just think The Thing came out at a time where people were not. That's not what people wanted at the time. Like people wanted
the E.T. They wanted family movies, right?
Yeah, but if you were going to do aliens, they wanted E.T. If you were going to do horror, they wanted Friday the 13th.
They wanted Slash.
82.
Okay, yeah. But did that much change in 2 years from Alien in 79? Maybe it did.
Sure, yeah. I mean, as soon as Friday the 13th came out, that's all people wanted. They wanted.
That's true.
They wanted slashers.
Junk food.
Yeah. And
like
I mean,
and yeah.
it's like you know it's like the story of The Shining opening the same weekend as Friday the 13th and getting completely demolished by Friday the 13th at the box office. It's like people found that and they were like, "Oh, this is the new thing." And so this is where we're going to go. And then looking back at it retrospectively years later, we all see The Shining for what it is. We all see The Thing for what it is. Even, Day of the Dead, in 85, people weren't ready for a bleak, dark fucking zombie movie. They wanted Return of the Living Dead. They wanted, it's time to party. They wanted to party,
with the Linnea
comedy.
Quigley walking around fucking butt naked
right,
the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's like, this has no women in it. It's literally the antithesis. There's no sex appeal. I mean, I don't want to assume. Maybe for you guys there is, but there's no sex appeal. Like literally they're in parkas. You don't even get to see skin on the guys. It's like it's the most covered up and I mean,
there's no love story. There's no it's not one you would take your date to on a first date. Let's go see The Thing, honey.
They did love the bottle, but that was pretty much it, right?
There you go. Wilford Brimley loved the diabetes. Much of I don't think he ever loved it. That's not nice. No. Much of the film's disastrous reception was reported that I've grown kind of attached to it. Well, he became synonymous with the diabetes.
Wasn't there an interview at some point? I don't know. I don't forget where it was, but somebody interviewed Wilford Brimley and asked him, like, one of the questions was like, "What was your favorite candy?" or something like that. And it was just
my gosh.
Oh, Werther's? Werther's?
This is where, dude, like, okay, honestly, how many people know him as that guy from fucking Cocoon or whatever, and how many people know him as the diabetes guy? It's the diabetes guy. It completely took over
my generation. He's diabetes guy. Yeah.
Much of the film's disastrous reception was reportedly due to its graphic violence. But don't you think that deep down, just as much as that knee-jerk reaction was due to the film's overwhelming cynicism, the way it went against the whole "don't worry, be happy" facade of the Reagan era, the E.T. era? That's it. You've got it exactly right. They used the graphic violence, the monster, to be disgusted by the nihilism of it, the bleakness of it. I remember seeing Cinema Fantastique magazine at the time, a very glossy, that was a really cool storyboard.
Oh, shit, was that?
You got to go to the next page. It's okay. Oh, yeah, I got to read that.
I think that's right.
Oh, yeah, I got to go.
22.
But those are sick, though.
Yeah, dude, those are really good drawings.
Some people just like do stick figures.
Dog's awesome. Oh, that's a really cool one. Yeah.
It looks like it's cock. Okay, let's move on. All right. Thawing out with R.J. McCready. Okay, that's a headline. Okay, let's zoom in on this.
This is the Kurt Russell interview.
So it probably skips ahead. That's okay. That's all right. Let's just go. Let's read the Kurt Russell.
Okay.
And I love how Kurt Russell has never really cast Carpenter by the wayside. I mean, he was still doing. He did Escape from L.A. with Carpenter in '97 or '90, whatever year that was. And
have you listened to any of the commentary tracks that Carpenter and Russell did for? Like, those are always great because it just feels like you're listening to two best friends watching a movie and just. Taking the piss out of it.
And the fact that him and Queef David both inducted him, like the Hollywood Walk.
Yeah.
And you saw that? And I mean, you could just guess who wasn't there. I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis was there. I don't think
she wasn't there.
She didn't show up. She was filming Freaky Friday too. So, and you could just tell, Kurt Russell's not one of those guys where he's not ashamed of horror because that's not where he started. Like Carpenter turned him from a Disney kid.
Kurt Russell seems like such a genuine guy, like a guy you'd want to hang out with.
Kurt Russell was a Disney contract player. He grew up in old 60s movies as a kid. And so he's the guy that, gave him his Robin Pattinson fucking chance. Like, let's get rid of that Twilight shit on you and let's get people to take you seriously. And he put him in stuff like Escape. He put him in Elvis first and then Escape from New York, et cetera, et cetera. And
then you see him in Overboard and he's like the everyman. It's like
I love Overboard.
Yeah, he seems like
Kurt Russell has a habit of playing reluctant tough guy heroes, due in no small part to John Carpenter's enduring faith in the actor's abilities. When the director cast him as Snake Plissken, the extraordinarily sexy badass anti-hero us female cinenerds live for, in Escape from New York, a cult icon was born, and Carpenter didn't hesitate to call upon him once more for the role of R.J. McCready in The Thing, a character that was less a bad boy but still an accidental hero who just wanted to go up to his shack and get drunk until things started to get weird around the station. By the way, okay, this is a female, Jovanka Volkovnik. Yeah.
Are you sure it's a female?
Yeah, she said us female senators.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
And back then you could assume the genders. As you know, I'm just saying, so we know it's a female.
You're right. This is just I'm thinking in 2026. Never mind.
All right. So as McCready puts it early in the movie, somebody in this camp ain't what he appears to be. He's then forced to take action when his clothes are discovered torn up, leaving the rest of the crew suspicious that he might be the Thing. He's convinced he's not, of course, and contrives the now famous test that involves introducing a hot copper wire to the blood of each member, a setup for the memorable scene in which Palmer, David Clennon, transforms and attacks Windows, Thomas G. Waits, forcing the alien to reveal itself. In the aftermath, someone's got to take charge, and Flyboy steps up, being the sanest remaining member of the crew, or is he? The question about who's who and who's trustworthy is fundamental to the story. Confusion and paranoia drive the film to a wonderfully downbeat ending that's hard to trump even a quarter century later. Having come up with the last line of the film himself, why don't we just wait here for a little while, see what happens? By the way, the greatest ending of all time. And that's the kind of ending like someone like my mom would hate. We would watch movies like that and she'd be like, that's it. My mom would say that shit. That's it. I fucking spent 2 hours on the that's it. And me, I'm like, I love
You have no idea how like true to life that is for like most people that I know in my family, dude.
Well, it's the casual audience or whatever. And you know, the ending is the toughest thing to land. I get it.
That's it.
But dude, that ending is so awesome. It says everything. And with saying nothing. And you don't need to be shown everything. And yeah, like some people just want a definitive answer.
That's what everybody says about Dawn of the Dead too, right, Alpha?
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, if you guys are listening on headphones, I apologize. Hold on. Russell maintains to this day that neither McCready nor Childs, Keith David, page 23, knew what the other was, nor what the fate of the world would be once they were pried from the ice and thawed out. Rue Morgue warms up with Kurt Russell on a hot summer day to discuss the possibilities, among other things. I love it. He's still talking about this movie in 2007. Which of the films you've worked on with Carpenter is your favorite? The Thing is my absolute favorite. Of all the things he's done and done extremely well, I think The Thing stands out. I had a great time making it. He's just a blast to work with. He was very instrumental at that time in my career when he cast me. Todd, naughty. Is that me? Oh, I got to pop up. I thought it was you. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay.
It was a blast to work with in Escape from New York, but I think that he's done some what people have now noticed, very innovative movies that change things, especially with Escape from New York, The Thing, and Big Trouble in Little China. I'm a stand for all those. I'm a stand for Escape from New York. Todd doesn't care for it. I acknowledge it's an action movie with no action.
Yeah.
It's an action movie with no action.
It is.
It's the most bizarre thing. But it just oozes with too much style. Man. But it's too cool, man. I get it.
The style's cool, but yeah, it's just boring.
How'd you score the job in The Thing? Did Carpenter have you in mind? Nope. I was talking to John when he was preparing that movie about who might be right to play the role of McCready, and we were throwing names around. It was not going to be me. And then I don't think anyone really worked out, or perhaps he didn't find the person he wanted. And finally he said to me, would you want to play him? And I said, well, sure. That's it in a nutshell. John told us that you were responsible for the iconic last line of the movie. How did that come about? John and I were talking about the last scene, and I'm glad at least this one probably wraps up here.
Well,
yep.
Oh,
is it?
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Page.
Yeah.
And he wasn't necessarily thrilled about the idea of spending 2 hours to come back around to where you began, really. That's it. Now, he's like, he didn't want it to, but he still pissed everybody off. He pissed all the rednecks Off, yeah. But as we talked it out, we realized that was the story. There was really no way around that, and we just fooled around with that last scene. It was one of those scenes that sort of boiled down to the last line, and it seemed to me that what was a generic to the theme of the movie was, what was the line? Why don't we just wait here for a little while, see what happens? Yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't remember it. That's it. I thought the idea of the thing was terrific, which was nobody really knew the situation, so we weren't even sure if it was us. In your opinion, was McCready the thing? I think that the truth of the story is that by that point in the movie, things were so confused in the minds of the people it was happening to, that the last line just speaks for itself. I always wondered what would happen just as you were going out. What would you do? Because you didn't want to freeze to death. And if you froze to death, the thing is still alive. It's alive in one of you. What did you think of the overwhelming negative response to the movie upon its initial release? What was seen was the monster. What was not seen until later and continues to be seen is the terrific story about paranoia. It's a story about who goes there, and the people don't know. You've been with these people in the environment. You know them very well, or at least you think you do. And pretty soon something like this comes along and your belief system begins to unravel to the point where you're not even sure yourself. And I think that's what's terrific about The Thing. John and Rob Bottin created the most horrific monster that anyone's ever seen, able to mimic all the beings from all the planets it's ever been to before. And we knew what audience would say at the time. You got to remember, this was the year of E.T., so that was that alien, and this was our alien. Very cool. Along with the malevolent alien and the downbeat ending, we also discussed with John the idea that the whole "don't worry, be happy" Reagan era might have had something to do with it. Would you agree? You blamed the failure of the thing at the time on Reagan. Wait. So he thinks that's kind of silly.
You're mimicking his laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Goldie, give me some iced tea. These guys. It was too easy to blame Reagan for everything. Come on. Fair enough.
It was in the 80s. You got to
Fair
blame
enough.
Reagan.
Given that the film was a box office disaster, did you expect it to become such a cult classic? Yes, I did, because a good film gets found. I mean, Escape from New York was a success, but it wasn't a monstrous hit of any kind. The Thing was a flop. Big Trouble in Little China was a flop. You couldn't find the movie 3 days after it was out. By the way, isn't that funny?
That's crazy, man.
He kept making movies with them, and they kept flopping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't you think they would have somebody would have been like, okay, Kurt.
Well, it's Kurt Russell, man. He's such a great actor too.
You got to stop pairing up with this hippie, because he's he's not giving you good films.
Well, he's making all these weird movies that it's hard to market. I mean, Big Trouble in Little China is kind of a hard movie to market. It's like, what audience are you targeting for that movie? I mean, it's a good movie, but it's not a horror movie. It's not a. There's magic elements to it, but it's a weird fucking movie.
Yeah, I get why he wanted to keep working with them despite the bombs, because he was going through that. Robin Pattinson, put me in Good Time. I want to be in all these fucking movies that shake. I want to be experimental. I want to test. I want to grow up and test my. But I'm just surprised, his agents and people at the time were like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing? You got to stop this."
Which it works for Robert Pattinson, because I think he's great now. He's putting out a lot of good movies.
Yeah. His face still looks like a foot, but decent movies.
Looks better than mine.
Well, Snake Plissken and RJ McCready are pretty fucking cool. Thanks. I love John for many I love John for many reasons, but I love the fact that he does what he wants and he didn't ever hesitate to call me back. We got to work together again on Escape from LA, which I just had a great time doing. I have always admired him for sticking to his guns and making the movie he wants to make. Yeah, I mean, I think they respect each other as true artists, And I'm
very friendly. Yeah, they were very friendly. They were good friends, and you get that vibe. Like I said, listening to those commentaries for those movies.
I'm a bit of an apologist for Escape from LA too. I get it. You guys throw all the stones you want. I get it. I've heard it all.
I'd rather watch that than Escape from New York.
Look, you can wince all you want, Alpha Todd. You can make your jokes.
Fucking out of your mind.
But look, we got Peter Fonda surfing along the turnpike behind a green screen. It's the most fucking bizarre thing you've ever seen. And you can't believe anybody gave anybody any kind of money to make it. And the fact that Kurt Russell read the script and was like, let's do it, blows me away. I think it's awesome. I think it's just a bunch of guys having fun, for better or worse, We're gonna put Pam Grier in it and give her a man voice because she used to have a thingy. Awesome. Everything about it's just so bizarre for the time.
Bizarre
cool
for the
soundtrack.
time. That's a way to put it. Yeah.
Not so bizarre today. Yeah. Oh, Kevin, are we talking about One Cut of the Dead? Yeah. Please check out One Cut of the Dead. It's gonna seem weird the first 30 minutes, but stick with it. I've heard great things about it.
I've never seen it. Yeah, I gotta check that out. I've heard good things though.
I haven't seen it either.
Hey, what's up, Robert? You're not late. You know what? You're just in time. The second you're here,
yeah,
you're
Robert's here. The party can start.
That's right. I think everybody's already halfway drunk though. You got to catch up.
Yep. Start pounding.
I'm getting there.
I've been working on pound me.
I've been working on this left-hand peanut butter.
Left hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm all about the left hand.
So, okay. All right.
It's like somebody. It's like a completely different person, right, Todd?
Yeah.
You sit on it? You sit on that and get it numb?
Moving on.
Right.
That whole trick?
You know.
All right. What do
We're
you
on the
think?
same page here.
You know McCready and the boys were doing that out in the fucking cold, lonely.
Oh, sure.
Come on, dude.
What
do you think makes?
Yeah.
I know. What what do you think makes the thing such a significant achievement for Carpenter? I thought one of the most difficult things a director could have dealt with would be what he had to deal with in that movie. He had 12 men with their faces covered 80% of the time, and to be able to establish the characters as well as he did as to who's who so that the audience could know and follow it. That's a huge achievement for John. That was really difficult. You noted 12 men, which reminds me of the fact that there are no women in the thing. You don't see that too much in horror films. There were not only no women in the film, there were no women on the crew. To begin with, I think there were just a couple of women on the crew. The primary one was our script gal, and she was pregnant. What does that have to do with anything, Kurt? No. The environment was really bad with all the smoke and fire. Okay, there it is. For bad chemicals and fire and whatnot, we kind of all agreed that this is no place for a pregnant woman. So she correctly and rightfully decided she wasn't the best thing for her forthcoming child. But you're right. You don't see very many movies with that, just men in them. It was unique in that.
It's interesting. I never realized there were 12 men in the thing, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I was brainstorming an idea for a video about good double features for Day of the Dead, because Day of the Dead is 12 men, or 11 men and one woman, 12 people in the fucking mine, because it's like, and then there were 12. And I was thinking, like, man, the thing would be a good, because they're very similar in so many ways, and they're all, and now thinking about it, they're all very reminiscent of 12 Angry Men, the Sidney Lumet film from it's just like, wow. And that's 12 men in a small room arguing over something, and it's kind of the same thing. Wow.
It's definitely the Day of the Dead vibe. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. All three of those.
That was the story. There was no women there. And John, like I said before, makes the movies he wants to make and didn't feel pressured to have a love interest or whatever. He stuck to the story. And this is before they had fleshlights. They just literally weren't into it, What were these guys doing out there in the cold? How long were they supposed to be there again? You guys remember in the thing?
I don't think they were supposed to be there very long.
What's your stance on this remake prequel stuff that's circling the net? Hold on. When did the prequel come out? It was right around. It was close to this, right? Within a couple years. You guys remember the prequel?
Looking it up right now.
08, 09. When was that?
It was around this time when it was
2011.
Oh, okay. A few more years. Yeah. So, what is your thoughts on the remake prequel? I don't really feel one way or the other. I mean, we did a remake of a Howard Hawks movie, but John wanted to do a very different movie. He wanted to do the original story, Who Goes There? And I thought that was a great idea because it was a really good short story. I don't know anything about this new remake. Hopefully they'll make a good one. I would have liked to. I wonder if I could meet Kurt Russell, I would ask him, did you ever watch it? And if he probably would say no. Mm-hmm. And then I would be like, could you, I would want him to watch it. I want his opinion on it. Snake Plissken versus RJ McCready. Who'd win the fight? There's nobody that will ever win a fight against Snake Plissken. My man.
Snake Plissken. Snake Plissken beat Ox Baker with the fucking
dude. Snake Plissken. Snake Plissken. Even though he's fighting for his freedom, he's really a man with nothing to lose. He don't care.
And talk about great endings, man. Escape from New York as he's walking away with that fucking tape, and just pulling out the tape. Just
great.
How awesome is that fucking ending?
It's a great movie. I got to rewatch that. It's been a couple years. What's up, Burton Pierre 417? Yeah, 2011 was the year. Thank you for joining the chat.
Good to
I
see
like
you.
the prequel. No, it's not on par with 82, but what is? I look. I think the prequel has its merits.
It's been
I think
a
it's
while.
kind of.
I need to go back to it.
I appreciated that instead of remaking it. You know, I'd rather them do what they did, and it's fine. It could have been like a total train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, 11, dude, remakes were everywhere.
Oh,
This was remake apocalypse.
Yeah, remake.
So the fact that they did a prequel that tied in at the end with the dog, you know, it ended where the original thing began. It was a little fresh at the time because we were just getting non-stop remakes. So at least somebody's not completely shitting on the original movie, you know. It is what it is. I have that Blu-ray.
I never watched it.
Yeah. You never did?
No, I was like, I have no interest. Like, The Thing is fine. I don't need to know what happened before The Thing. It's like, gives a shit. Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm done. Like, I'm good with just The Thing, you know? Have you guys ever seen the original?
No, I've still never watched it.
I have never seen that one either.
Yeah, I
what's this about? Burton, what's the word on the new Thing movie? I heard about it a few years ago. There's a new Thing movie.
Oh, I didn't know that. Let me look that up.
I never heard anything about that. I kind of hope there isn't. Is this a new page, Todd, or is this what I just finished?
Yeah, this is. I think this goes back to Carpenter, I believe.
And we're gonna get on to Keith in the next page. Cool. Something about a magazine, and on the cover it said, "Is this the most hated movie of all time?" And that's magazine had done a profile on me a few years earlier after Halloween. Oh, this is Carpenter.
Yeah,
we're back to Carpenter.
Went back to Carpenter. Yeah.
So we finished Kurt Russell completely.
Yeah,
I think the final thing for Carpenter was like who'd win in a fight.
Oh, the Pliskin. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, question. This might be an answer. This might be a question more for Kevin. I know he's not like, he's not the editor, but I understand why they make you finish an article. Like, okay, the rest of this article is on page 60. It probably keeps you engaged, breaking it up or whatever. They even in a pre-TikTok era, they didn't want to like numb people too much. But we're still talking about the Thing. It's kind of weird to have part of the Carpenter interview, then interrupt it for the the Kurt Russell, and then just go back to Carpenter. That's kind of a weird thing.
But it's funny because we were saying the same thing when we did Fango Friday, because they did that back in the 70s for Fango, which is crazy.
I know, but it made sense back then. I get it, because it'd be like, okay, the Tom Savini, they do that in the newspaper.
Yeah.
The article continues on this page, the Tom Savini, but we're still talking about the Thing.
Oh,
it's
all
one big thing.
The same. Okay, yeah, it's the same.
And then it's like John Carpenter, cut it off. Let's go straight to Kurt Russell, then back to Carpenter.
Yeah.
That just feels a little interesting to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, what does he say here? The Thing is one of the earliest examples of a film that bombed in theaters, but subsequently became quite successful on home video, and now, of course, ranks among your most popular work. Have any of the critics who slagged it back in the day retracted what they said, or at least backpedaled it a little bit? This is funny because, Carpenter has normally given answers since then of like, where the fuck were they then? I didn't make any money.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, great, they love it now. Fantastic. I'm not making any of that back end. Not really. There was a screening in LA a few years ago, and they had a little blurb in the LA Times where they sort of said, well, it wasn't as bad as everyone said. LOL. Oh. Backhanded, but it was there.
That's brutal,
who was saying that? Who was saying that even in like the early 2000s?
That's crazy,
Nobody,
man.
Nobody was saying that. Like, it blows me away that there's people that don't like The Shining.
Yeah, I know.
There's people that absolutely shit on The Shining. And I just can't. I get it. People have opinions.
That's one person that still shits on The Shining.
Because he got upstaged on his own,
He got kicked.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
But like, there's a few movies out there that you just think they would just be so unanimous. It's like, I get it, you have an opinion, but come on. Well, it's like the Beatles, man. Even if Beatles aren't your thing, you acknowledge that the Beatles wrote some catchy songs. You get it. You kind of get
the fact that I saw this back in the 90s. I saw The Shining back in the 90s because I was, younger. The first time I saw them, I thought I was blown away. Like the fact, if I saw these in theaters, I mean, I'd feel the same way, but I don't see how people like shit on it. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
And I don't know if it's just like people that are like unfairly crapping on The Shining because they're King stands. I don't really know what it is, and I don't understand The Thing, man. Did all of the negativity ever impact your own feelings about the film? He's like, no, but it fucking fucked my career up real good. That's what I expect him to say. No,
That
I stood
sounds like
by
John
it when
Carpenter's response. Yeah.
yeah, I stood by it when it was released, but it did make me question myself. I mean, it's not the kind of thing you jump for joy over. And if that movie had been more successful, I think my career would have been a little bit different. But I think The Thing is maybe my best film. Well, that's great that it's not tainted. Like you still know a good film. Like it's funny because like if I made a film and I was super proud of it and I thought it was awesome and everybody hated it, I'd probably doubt myself like, "Oh god, dude, what the fuck do I even know? What do I fucking know?" It's the fact that
Yeah.
he can look at it and be like, "It was my best film." And Kurt Russell can be like, "It's his best film."
Yeah.
You know, it's great. Like these guys don't fucking know anything.
But think about the,
Um,
like, just years later, at the time, I mean, because The Thing was a big failure for John Carpenter. He went
it was a
on.
big swing, and that's what hurts more is just because they gave him a budget. It was a studio type of deal. It's like, "Oh, and you failed us, boy." You
Yeah,
know?
and I mean, he went on. He did Christine, which he was never really super proud of because he felt like it was just a job for hire. Same thing with Starman. But then years later, I mean, think about just the vindication that he got years later when people started coming around on The Thing and was like, "Dude, that's your best thing." He was like, "Yeah, that's what I always kind of thought," but at the time, it didn't quite work out.
Which it's crazy to me. People didn't like Christine either. I love Christine, man. It's a great
Awesome.
Yeah,
film.
Christine's great. Yeah, but Carpenter himself doesn't. He's not a big fan of Christine, even to this day.
Wow.
He's just kind of like, yeah, it's just this thing I did, job for hire type of thing.
But I
But
can understand that too. If he's a guy that was used to like really owning his projects and you do one of those things where it's like, I'm just the director on this one.
Yeah.
yeah,
He's probably not, I get it, he's not as close to
well,
it.
was
For sure.
Christine kind of the first film like that for John Carpenter, where it was just kind of a job for hire? Because I mean,
Elvis.
mm,
Elvis was a job, is a TV movie for hire. I mean, he didn't.
yeah, but I always kind of, I mean, just in interviews and stuff, I always kind of felt like John was pretty high on his work on Elvis. Like, I always felt like he was pretty proud of that. Or he was
Yeah.
maybe it was a work for hire, but he was
Well,
something that
it
he was
was
kind
the
of
first.
passionate
Well,
about. I
he
don't
was
know.
also of the era. Covering Elvis was a big
Yeah,
deal.
and he was,
He'd only been
he's a
he'd only been dead.
musician.
He'd only been dead a few years at that point. So,
Yeah.
and this was the first biopic. This is the first big thing Elvis ever got. So it's pretty. But yeah, so maybe that's not really fair. But
Yeah, I think Christine was kind of the one that after The Thing failed, it was the job that he had to take if he wanted to stay in the business type of thing. And I think he kind of
Yeah.
always kind of resented it for that reason. Just my interpretation.
Satan. Oh, John first says Jaws is over. Okay, wait, sorry. I think it's Robert started this Jaws hate.
Everybody's shitting
But,
on Jaws.
Hey,
I
I'm with them. I'm with the Robert.
Well, hold
I'm
on.
with all
I'm
of
not
it.
shitting on it, but I kind of like Robert's take. Hot take. I like it, but it's overrated. I will
Yes.
say that it just never resonated with me like it did the people that saw it when it came out. Maybe it would have messed me up if I was a kid and I saw Jaws. I totally get how people are like, "Oh, it made you afraid to go in the water as a kid." I totally get it.
I'll
But
say
yeah, it's always been
I'll, I'll say this: I've never been a huge Jaws fan. I was kind of the same mindset. I always kind of felt like it's fine, but it's not the greatest thing ever. I don't get the hype until I saw it in the theater with my fiance, and she had never seen it.
Mm.
And I've taken her to see quite a few. We went to see The Thing in the theater when it had a
Mhm.
re-release a
Nice.
few years ago, and she that was one of the few horror films that she loved. Like we saw it twice in the theater because she was just like, wow, that was actually really good. But we saw all kinds of stuff. We went to see Jaws, and she jumped the scene where the dude's
the shark.
no, when the dude's scuba diving and the head pops out in the
Oh.
hole in the bottom of the boat.
Mhm.
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 I've never seen someone jump out of their seat.
Hmm.
And she's not a person that really likes horror movies or really likes movies in general. She's just kind of watches them and she's just kind of like, okay. And I'm like, oh, you got to see this movie. It's great. And she's just like, yeah, it's fine. But Jaws to her, like after we left that theater, she was like, that was the scariest fucking movie I've ever seen in my life.
That's
And I was
awesome.
like, wow, okay. And like now I kind of get it. Like I kind of get the
Yeah.
hype. Like it never worked on me, but for somebody like her who's wasn't super steeped into horror and stuff like that, like scared the absolute shit out of her. Like she was just like, yeah, like that's stuck. So
Grounded in realism, it's like the sharks exist, man, and people are I have no desire to go deep into the ocean.
No.
I don't think we belong there. It's like, yeah,
No.
there's, you know what I mean? Like, so I get it. I 100% get it.
I live in the Midwest, so I didn't grow up in the water, so really,
Yeah, I'm not a beach guy either. So
no.
I think the problem is our age group. So when I was young, Jaws was already out when I was a kid. I grew up and Jaws existed. It was like the quintessential shark movie. And I was getting into like stuff that wasn't as slow. And I was getting into like, I was into Chucky and Freddy. That was kind of what I cut my teeth on. And you have like your parents and stuff saying things like how much it wrecked them and how bad. And then you finally watch it and it's, you know what I mean? It just wasn't what I was used to at the time I saw it.
I had that same exact experience with The Exorcist when I first saw it. Like
Yeah, I get you.
my parents were like, "Oh my god, this is the scariest movie ever made." Like I remember being a kid and we were watching because it was around that time when The Exorcist had that re-release in like 98, 99, something like that. And I remember we were watching it, and my parents were just like, "Oh, this is the scariest movie ever, Michael. Are you sure you want to watch this?" Because I was already watching, Tales from the Dark Side and Freddy and Jason. Like, I was already kind of getting into horror. But they were like, specifically like, "I don't know if you should watch this. This is the scariest movie ever made." So when I was a kid watching it, like, it didn't resonate. I was just like, "Really? Like this?" No, like it didn't do anything for me. I was just like, this is kind of boring. Like it's just it's just this girl pissing on the carpet and like I don't know, but years later, like I've really kind of appreciated The Exorcist for what it is as opposed to when I was a kid and it just wasn't what it was hyped up to be with my parents. My parents, it was
I'm 100% right there with you, Alpha. Absolutely. You took the words out of my mouth.
When I was like little, so I'm talking when I saw Jaws, I was like real little. Like, and like I said, I was watching Chucky's and Freddy. I was like 5, and I'm like, Jaws ain't doing it for me. Like I was in the Midwest too, and I'm like, we didn't have no oceans around me. I had not, I wasn't gonna like Jaws wasn't gonna get me at the community pool or whatever, and or my sprinklers I used to run through. That's what I used to do. That's what we've run through the sprinklers and jump through them. And anyway, but I think when I was like 8 or 9, I saw the Amityville Horror and I loved it. And that was one of those movies my mom's like, "Oh, it's so scary." And I loved it. So I was conditioned not that long after for like the slow burn. So when I saw Exorcist a couple years after that, I loved The Exorcist. So it is what, and I love The Shining. I think I saw The Shining when I was like in the 6th grade. Loved it. Scared the holy hell out of me, man. Yeah, but people in their jaws, man. You guys are pretty in the chat. It seems to be a thing.
People in their
Satan,
jaws.
Yes, Exorcist was considered from the devil. I lived during the Satanic Panic. It is where you were born, my son.
It's funny you say that, Satan, because I just watched a documentary on Satanic Panic. It was on Tubi or something. It came out like 5 years ago. It was actually really interesting. Like the Satanic Panic started because these two grifters like wrote a book about like a girl like getting abducted by some sort of like satanic cult, and they did all this like weird shit to her, and then they wrote a book about it, and they ended up like traveling the country and selling it to like a lot of these publications and doing interviews, and they started the whole Satanic Panic movement, which is crazy. So I'll shoot you. Hey, hit me up on some
Discord or something.
Discord, and I'll shoot you the name of this documentary because it was really good.
Oh, let's see here. Do you think it aged well? Going back to Carpenter. Oh yeah, I think it's really interesting to watch now and a lot of fun to watch. It still has a lot of power. Well, here we are running a cover story on it 25 years later. Yeah, it's really nice. I remember my editor, Todd Ramsey, at one point when we were sitting around lamenting something, he said, "On this movie, you have to embrace the darkness because you can't back off from it or it will be compromised. You'll look weak. You'll look like a director without a point of view." So I thought, well, hell, I can do that. And that's what I did. You once told Rue Morgue that Halloween was essentially the last film you shot that came out exactly as you wanted it to. Does that mean you weren't entirely happy with The Thing? I don't know why I said that. LOL. Okay. This was an interview you did with us back in 99 when Vampires, underrated. I do like Vampires, not a perfect film, but it's a fun B movie.
Oh yeah, I love it too.
Was about to come out. We did a cover story on it. Oh, he's like, what is that word? I
Christ's
repudiate.
sakes, Christ's sakes,
I
For
can't
I
spell
Christ's
it.
sakes.
I repudiate that completely. I don't know. Hey, I must have been
Repudiate.
on drugs then, or maybe I wasn't taking enough. He's
There you
probably on
go.
drugs now, but
The repudiate word is something I haven't. I guess it doesn't mean he doesn't recall it. It's interesting. I find it's always one or the other. Yeah. In the case of Halloween, I had no options. The movie that you see is what we shot. But in that sense, with The Thing, I'm very happy because I didn't have to worry about reshooting anything. Every other film, of course, I'd go back and tweak and fix. So maybe it was just the experience. I don't mean to make it out that Halloween was exactly the way I wanted it. If you read the screenplay of Halloween and then look at the movie, you'll see that a lot changed. Do you think that maybe a happier ending for The Thing would have gotten a better critical response, even if you had left all the violence in? Oh, is it continued? Probably.
Uh,
Maybe that's why, because his interview's bigger. Maybe
well,
why.
is there something at the top here? Because then I think it
This
goes
it's
to
got to be Keith David.
Keith David.
yeah.
So he's probably, Keith's probably a 1 or 2 spread. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Let me kind of like peruse. Yeah, his is only 1 page. You can see the end. Let me kind of read Keith there. Wait, where you at, bud?
What am I back? Yep.
Okay, let me kind of like yeah. I think the next page goes back to Carpenter because it goes back to that other color.
Okay.
I just want to see if this is a quick one. Before The Thing, nobody knew who Keith David was, but horror fans sure as hell remembered him when it was over. As the imposing, not to be fucked with Childs, introduced in the script as 6'4", 250, black, a mechanic, can be jolly, but don't mess. David went blow for blow with Kurt Russell, and even the negative reviews of the film praised his performance. All the more remarkably it was, aside from work as an extra, his debut film. I had a wonderful agent. I auditioned and I got lucky, says David, who considered himself a long shot for the part. After all, he had never heard of John Carpenter when he got the script, and his previous training was in theater. I was used to auditioning for plays, not movies. We were in the producer's office and we were reading a group scene where a fight ensues, and one of the actors threw the phone on off the producer's desk. I couldn't believe the actors were getting that literal in the room. Childs only has a few lines. He was a man of very few words. All he did was say things like hell no and fuck you. But I was so wrapped up in watching what was going on that I blew my cue. Suddenly the room went silent for a couple seconds and everybody's looking around going, who's the next line? And I go, oh, and my line was hell no. Because of that, I thought, oh, well, I blew that. Of course, he did get the part and was particularly happy to work with alongside not just Russell, but other seasoned actors such as Richard A. Dysart, Dr. Copper, and Thomas Waits, Windows, with whom he'd attended the Juilliard School in New York. The principal cast rehearsed the script for 2 weeks before shooting and even ended up shaping the story. Richard Basur, Clark, Charles Hallahan, Norris, and Kurt Russell happen to be real science fiction buffs. So all the holes that are becoming apparent in the script we started to address. David recalls, the one thing that makes the science fiction phony is the inconsistencies. So if the thing is supposed to do this, then it wouldn't do that. And if it's supposed to be like that, then this wouldn't be true. David's performance is particularly memorable because aside from the protagonist, it's the only one left alive of the movie. Childs and McCready sit amongst the burning wreckage of the camp, wondering if one or the other is a thing, all while the temperature plummets, which wasn't hard for the actors to imagine, as most of the frigid exteriors were shot in Alaska and northern British Columbia. The matter-of-fact nihilistic finale was pure Carpenter, notes David, and although it's tough to reimagine a different ending of the film, in the optimistic Reagan era, critics and audiences didn't respond to it as hoped. They can't lay off this Reagan shit. We opened to okay reviews, David remembers. I got a couple of honorable mentions, but the film itself got panned. Critics said it was too gross for kids. What a stupid comment to make, because if you're going to compare it to E.T., yes, of course, but why would you take your kid to The Thing anyway? Good point. After the film's lackluster box office performance, David's enthusiasm for Hollywood waned, and he didn't do another film for 4 years until Oliver Stone cast him in Platoon. After that, he got a call from Carpenter to co-star in They Live, a gig that included 3 days shooting the outrageously long fight sequence with Rowdy Piper, thereby cementing David's screen
one of
image
the
as a
best fight scenes ever.
Oh yeah.
By
Awesome.
the way.
Yeah.
Remember when they reenacted the whole thing on South Park?
Yes.
Yeah.
Super
Cripple
long.
fight.
Yeah, it's so long and it's just insane. Where we go from there, he went on for diverse roles such as Suburban Dad in the comedy There's Something About Mary, the Frank of the Beans, yeah. A holy man in the horror sci-fi film Pitch Black, and a policeman in the Academy Award-winning drama Crash. After appearing in dozens of movies and becoming one of the most sought-after narrators in the documentary world, however, genre fans still love him the most as the go-to guy for battling otherworldly shapeshifters. People will come up to me and say, "Oh, you're the guy from The Thing," he says. It still ranks among my most recognizable roles. To me, he's also Spawn in the HBO Spawn series. He's the silver tongue, man.
Silver
Yeah,
tuna.
saying Alpha said it. Cancel him. Saying, let's see here. Yeah, John, I do remember the TV show. I absolutely love that card. It's one of my, I don't know, we're talking about gargoyles. Okay,
Goddamn,
Dayton
I leave
wants
for
you.
5 minutes, take a piss, and y'all start talking about cartoons from the 90s? Jesus.
Dayton wants you. Are you misspelled your own name?
No, yeah,
Or is-
well, no, I was saying what movie he needs to or documentary on Satanic
all right.
Panic.
So we kind of have to pick up the pace a little
Yes,
bit
yes, we
because
do.
it's like we got to get through this. But I kind of wanted to pay attention because this is like the spread. This is
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah.
Let me just kind of like zoom in a little bit.
Well,
I want to see what he says.
when
Here.
did you guys first see The Thing? Because it was
Gosh,
not a movie that I grew up with. It was not a movie that like my parents really ever talked about. It was not a movie that was like well known in the zeitgeist of, like when I was a kid, it was Freddy, Jason, Chucky. Like nobody ever really talked about The Thing, and then I don't remember the first time I watched The Thing,
me
honestly.
neither. I bet you $1 million is one of those things I saw like on WGN on a Sunday morning on a weekend, in the summertime. And I'm serious. This is the
Yeah.
kind of movie they might have put like Aliens. They used to play
Mhm.
Aliens like Cameron in the middle of the day on like WGN or TBS, or I might have saw it in the 90s at some point like that.
No, I remember renting it from Blockbuster like in middle school because like I was the kid who had no friends, so all I would do was go to Blockbuster and rent
What's
films.
changed? Continue.
Same here.
So
Same here.
I picked up The Thing. I was big into creature feature stuff at the time, and I was like, "Okay, I need to watch The Thing," and I was blown away. I was like, "This is amazing. The special effects are amazing." And of course, I was coming off of all my zombie craze with Tom Savini, and then once I saw like Bottin's of special effects, I was like, "Oh my god, this is like." Seeing it for the first time, I was blown away.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it because I remember. I want to say I probably rented it at like one of my local mom and pop shops, one of the 5 for $5 deals where you get 5 movies for $5. You get to keep them for 5 days, type of thing. And I remember coming across it, and like it just always seemed like I always just like when I was younger thought it was like, oh, it's just one of those like cheesy fucking movies like The Blob or the something. It's just like I didn't think much of it until like and then I saw it and I was like, Jesus Christ, like this is hardcore. Like this is brilliant shit. Like I
Mhm.
immediately fell in love with it. And I remember seeing it at a point where it wasn't quite what it is now, and people really didn't talk about it until like a few years later. But I remember just being like, holy shit, like this is, you know, because I mean, I think it's just the title too, The Thing. It just
Mhm.
sounds like corny in a way, like The Thing. It sounds like 50s sci-fi because I mean,
Yeah,
it's a remake of a 50s sci-fi movie. But I remember as a young kid, you're used to seeing like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then
sure.
you see The Thing next to it, and you're just like, oh, I don't know about that one. Oh, yeah, that looks corny. But then you realize it's John Carpenter, and you're like, all right. But yeah, I remember watching it and just was just like, Jesus Christ, like this is not at all was what I was expecting. And I kind of felt the same way about the Blob too. When I first saw the Blob remake from the 80s, I was like, wow, this is a little
Oh,
more
great.
hardcore than I thought,
Starring Kevin Dillon.
Yeah.
Hey guys, John, I agree. I love Assault on Precinct 13. I
Yes,
think it's a
yes, it
great
is
film.
great.
Awesome film, dude. I love it. And I think it deserves even more love. And okay, so actually let me just kind of look at something on the second page. Can you kind of zoom out a little bit? We'll kind of pass because we got a lot of stuff to cover. Um zoom in a little bit.
Simulation,
Go to the right. Yeah. Okay.
extreme measures.
Oh, what is that? Yeah, let's read that. Extreme Measures. John Carpenter had scored all of his own films since Dark Star, excuse me. So it was remarkable that for The Thing, he allowed someone else to sit in the composer's chair. Choosing wisely, he enlisted Morricone to conjure up the soundtrack of cold isolation and seething madness. Carpenter's recognizable style consists of bass drones, pulses, and simple rhythms, often rendered through electronic instruments. Sometimes funky, Assault on Precinct 13, but incredibly atmospheric and perfectly suited for his films of paranoia. His affinity for musical simplicity guided Morricone. Yeah, that goes with what you're saying. Who was best known at the time for his Sergio Leone Western scores, but had been working prolifically in nearly all genres. When the veteran Italian composer delivered a part orchestral, part synth score for the film, the best track remains the title music, where Morricone mimics Carpenter's fat analog sounds by using minimal synth pulses, to convey the sterility of Antarctica.
What did I say? What did I say?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
While introducing the film's main theme, a 3-note chord shifting motif, it adds a steadily increasing yet indiscreet tension to the opening montage of a mysterious husky hunted by a Norwegian helicopter team. Go down a little bit. Throughout the film, Morricone repeatedly returns to this simple motif, using modern orchestral configurations for the film's biologically explosive transformation scenes and a more melodic rendition, which, like the aliens entombed spaceship, dwarfs the encircling scientists who stand on a glacier, reeling in the immensity of the ominous discovery. Although a Hollywood production, it's fascinating to hear in its composer's patented use of minimalism, layered harmonics, and flawless orchestral colors applied to the American genre movie, transforming cliches into something contemporary. The original MCA LP and Varis Sarabande CD are long out of print, as is Universal's first DVD, which featured the album as an audio bonus under the Making of documentary. But they're all worth hunting down, along with the rare Australian version, which contains unused tracks. Until this gem gets the expanded release, it's been deserving for 25 years. I have the CD. I have a CD.
You know the vinyl of it?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I would like it. You can buy it for me. I got a CD though. All right, let's move on. Is this another page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Bottin. This is Bottin. Let's see. Kicking in. Would you guys buy this magazine? Wait, what?
What?
Whiskey. I think he's saying the whiskey is kicking in, or whatever.
Oh, the whiskey's kicking in. Oh, those drinks, shot glasses. Got it. Okay, I'm just gonna skim Bottin a little bit. Can you kind of zoom in? Let's check this out. Carpenter invited you to make The Thing after he saw your impressive work on The Howling. What, if anything, did you learn of the film that you took with The Thing to The Thing? When I read the original Howling script, there was no description beyond Eddie changes into a werewolf. When I read The Thing in our first meeting, I gambled on the imagination's uniqueness by telling John I felt the script was easily the best horror script ever, but I rejected the concept of the Thing monster as written, pointing out that it was way too much like Alien. I very well could have lost the job right then and there, but instead of defending it, Carpenter stared at me for what seemed like an eternity, then screwed up his face, whining comically. Oh no! Now what are we gonna do? John is a very funny man.
Spot on.
FX,
Spot on impression of Carpenter.
I love it.
The FX were astoundingly creative and ingenious. That fucking spider head. I know it was your idea to make the Thing capable of looking like anything. All the creatures that it imitated in the past. How did you come up with the crazy non-concept? Much like a method actor and screenwriter, I became the Thing in my mind, reasoned out my behavior, and pitched it to Carpenter right in the spot. The original script mandates the Thing lives inside humans and bursts out, suddenly appearing when it attacks. But that's what's too much like Aliens. So let's pretend I'm the Thing, okay? I read that as Quentin Tarantino. Okay.
Okay.
In the beginning of the story, we see my spaceship crash land on Earth. But where did I come from, Jan? And why does the story refer to me as the Thing? Okay. What if I crash landed on Earth because I barely escaped another planet where the life forms there discovered me, attacked me, and sent me packing? And what if before I was on yet another planet? Next page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not going to read all this. I just want to finish this little anecdote. Was a completely different life that discovered me, attacked me, and sent me fleeing into outer space again. Carpenter. Okay, but where's this going? I continued, rather than simply living inside each different life form on each different planet, what if I had literally imitated each one's physical appearance? Like a fugitive on the run, fleeing from one planet to the next, desperately trying to blend in by shape-shifting, disguising myself as each life form I encountered, hoping to go undetected, just to exist, to be left alone. Carpenter said, I'm liking this, but what's the point? I asked John, like I just fucking told you, dude. How much more do you need?
What the fuck
I
are you
asked,
talking about?
yeah. I asked John to hear me out. Okay, here's the best part. If I'm the thing and I know my survival is dependent on successfully hiding, blending in with those around me by way of shape-shifting imitation capabilities, I'm obviously a paranoid creature who's very afraid of being discovered. But when I am discovered, taken by surprise, attacked, my advantage is I can physically recall any aspect of any previous life form I've imitated, utilizing its most appropriate physical defense mechanism to protect myself. And if that part of me is destroyed when attacked by those who I've imitated, the rest of me will survive because each part of me is an individual whole. I'm not an alien bug, nor an alien animal, nor alien vegetable. I am all those things and more. That's when they called me the Thing. Carpenter still wasn't completely sold. That's a wild concept, Rob. But it sure sounds complicated.
It sounds like a wild fever dream that you would have while you're taking acid. I think that's where Rob came up with this, and
All right.
Carpenter was just like, "The fuck are you talking about?" Like,
let's turn the page. I'm not gonna read all this, but
Better work.
it's pretty cool.
It's robust. It's great, man. A lot of good stuff here.
Okay.
Oh dang, another couple pages.
We got to get through this.
Yeah.
This is a long
The world's
issue, dude.
biggest
Oh,
Thing fan.
Oh, that looks like every world's biggest horror fan, Thing fan, right there. That's him. Alpha, is that you at the age of 12?
No, that
Like Stan's mustache. You have the same glasses.
The world's
Todd
biggest
Cameron.
Thing fan, Todd Cameron.
He would be
Cameron.
a Todd.
Yeah. It looks
Old movie Mike. Hey, new to your channel. Good stuff, dude. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully you subbed. Welcome aboard Mike's DVD and Blu-ray collection, man. So you're in the physical
Mike,
space.
we're here every other Friday doing Friday.
Oh, we stream on Wednesdays and Fridays. We're gonna be doing these deep dives bi-weekly, I think.
Yeah, with Rue Morgue. Yeah.
Courtesy flush.